children serving life without possibility of parole. You know, things have gone wrong from the very beginning for them. The fact that they not only survive but grow and become mature, thoughtful people like Lynn McNeil is extraordinary. And it is despite all of this.
Yeah, when you're incarcerated, what's on paper never changes. Once you commit that crime, that's black and white. But does that make me a bad person? You know, one of the myths that if you allow a juvenile lifer or individual who's serving a life sentence who committed a crime, which was a horrible crime, if you let them out, they're gonna kill again. If you let them out, they'll never be productive members of the community. But, you know, so you can allow an individual another opportunity, a second chance to engage life. True, I grew up in prison, but I didn't allow prison to come outside into society with me. I left that there. Yeah, my name is Lynn McNeil, and at the age 17, I was convicted and sentenced to life without parole, plus 66 to 100 years. I went in prison December the 8th, 1987, and I came out June the 2nd, 2021, and I did 33 and a half years. And I remember my first day in prison, my first cell, I was in I Block at Michigan Reformatory. And when I came in, the place looked horrendous from the outside. It looked even scarier from the inside. And I remember my cell, I was in cell 19, and they gave me a bedroll. And I walked down this long corridor, and the cells went all the way down. And I heard a loud clinking because it was steel bars. Clink, clink, clink. And the guy told me, 19, step in. So I scurried up to the door, opened the door. I stepped in the room, and I can hear him hit something else. And it was a locking mechanism, and the door slammed shut, and it locked. And at that moment, I was scared to death because I don't know what's next. Prison was horrible. Prison was everything that you can encompass in what you don't want. No matter how many times a loved one sent me a picture of my family, there's always one thing missing. I'm not in it. But I'm gonna take it to another step. I lost my grandparents, I lost my father. You know, you lose family members and the system says so. So you look into a point where you become out of sight, out of mind. You become, I would say, a forgotten piece of life. You know, I wish I could think of this guy's name, but it was many years ago, and a guy told me, what you do today in prison will determine if you can go home tomorrow. And that always stuck in my mind. You learn how to get focused, or you learn how to be distracted. Being incarcerated, the distractions are everywhere. My education had to be self-initiated. My focus to one day extract myself from that environment and come home had to be self-initiated. I went into prison, I couldn't really read or write. And I couldn't make sentences. Once I got my GED, you know, I'm on another level. When I looked at the diploma, I saw my scores, and I had some of the highest scores in the state getting my GED. So my goal was this: if I can do more good in prison than the bad I did to get me in prison, well, that's something that somebody can revel with and say, you know what, maybe if opportunity comes, we can give him a chance. Well, it was reflected on in 2021 when my judge looked at my record and said it was outstanding. So we know is who you are and what you are. And that was just one of the things I just want an individual to see. I might have done something bad, but does that make me a bad person? I want to share back when I got sentenced to life without parole as a 17-year-old. and I heard the sentence, and I heard my judge, and it was kind of mixed because she called me a good person, but then said that, your life is pretty much over with. 3 young people just lost their lives.
Our community has lost 3 good people, including Mr. McNeil, who would have been a productive member of our society that we could depend on and help us through the future. Now all 3 of them will be gone. So my name's Deborah LaBelle, and I'm an attorney that practices out of mostly Ann Arbor, Michigan, and New York. My work has been centered around doing civil rights and human rights. I've focused a lot on working on behalf of people in detention, and so we've addressed various aspects of the policies and practices of the United States in sentencing children to life without possibility of parole, which is a sentence that it violates almost every treaty in the world. You can always tell Lynn's letters because it used to be, you can't do this anymore. They can't write on color. It's been really monochromatic.
That was Lynn's letter written on the rainbow thing there?
Yeah, that's Lynn writing in 2005. I read the letters that were written to me on your behalf, and they've asked me to give you the most lenient sentence possible. But you should understand, on a murder first degree, the court does not have any discretion. The statute dictates that the sentence is life. There is discretion to be exercised on the murder in the second degree. That's why I was wondering why you have nothing to say and your lawyer has nothing to say about any of this. Your Honor, both counsel and the defendant remain silent at this time. It's clear that the attorney's just given up at this point. But here, you rarely see this line, defendant admits committing the within offense. It's pretty extraordinary, actually.
It was me, so there wasn't a need to try to sugarcoat it or put it off on somebody else. That was not the case. My actions and my activities, were the downfall of my life, and I own up to it as I rebuild my life. I was involved in the drug trade with an older individual. There was an altercation. We had a dispute over Detroit police raiding a residence, retrieving the narcotics, retrieving the things from that. So throughout that dispute, they came to a point where they felt like, well, I'm not gonna take your version of it. You're gonna owe me that money. And that's where the dispute came from. And behind the dispute, I pulled a firearm, and I felt threatened. He had a firearm, and my reaction, which is not justified, but my reaction was to shoot.
Unfortunately, there was a young woman in the car, and who also was shot, leaned forward, and I don't think he wasn't charged with first-degree murder for her. He was charged with second degree, which means you didn't really intend to commit the homicide, but you committed it. So it happened.
My environment most definitely had a huge impact on how I not only saw myself, how I saw the world. You're in a prism, so to speak, and the reflections of light you get are shaded with so much darkness because that's what you see. Because you engaged in this hostile world in a declining neighborhood environment. It was on a decline. It's flatline now. I mean, it was beautiful as children. We had, rolling streets of grass. It wasn't litter on the streets. It was an environment that was conducive to life. Now, the process of that changing is when the crack epidemic came. So that took to the degradation and the destruction of the community, and you watch the decline. Now, going back into that same environment, there's no houses. This was an apartment building right here, And next to it was a 4-family flat right here that I spent a lot of time at. This was a bank that we had on the corner. This was an ice cream parlor. Now we getting over to the block that I lived on. And actually, where this fence is, that house is still standing, which was always one of the good houses. This house, some very close friends of ours, and this field right here was our house. This was our 4-family flat right here. Tragically, that's where I also caught my case at. We on Collinwood, house that I grew up in, and tragically the location of where my crime happened back in 1987. First time touching this ground with my feet since that night. It's a different kind of feeling. It's a different kind of feeling. Have this kind of reaction, just physically getting out my vehicle and standing on these grounds. This was our driveway right here. You know, all the way up to that fence I used to jump over all the time, you know, to get over to the neighbor's house, because my partner lived in the house next over there. So opposed to walking around and walking that way, I just jump over the fences, you know. And right there, that fence always been broke right there, and it's still broke, you know.
I mean, Lynn could certainly have come out much, much sooner. And it was just dead time that we're paying people, you know, or paying as citizens to keep people in cages who, if anyone looked, they would say there are no danger. There's no reason to keep them there. Absolutely no reason. It's just forcing people to look has been the problem all along. I mean, I never understood why it has taken us so long. We weren't saying release them. We're saying look at them. Just look. Review them. People say, oh no. You know, they need to be punished to the ends of the earth, you know, for being children.
You know, I'm speaking to guys who's been incarcerated 15, 20, 30, 35, 40 years. Okay, at what point does the retribution stop? At what point can you evaluate the individual and say, you know what, you went in as a child, so that means you had to navigate an environment of men.
This is how bizarre and incoherent our concept of child and children and responsibility is here. You must go to school because you don't know enough to make this decision on your own, and as your parents and as your community, we're saying you must go to school till you're 18. But if you break the law, we're saying, oh, you're mature enough as an adult, and therefore we're going to hold you responsible just as if you were an adult. When they get about 26, misconducts go whoosh. And so you should look at them at that time and say, okay, do you get it now? Are you, safe to rejoin us? And then the answer for most of them will be a resounding yes.
I'm going to take you back to 2012. I remember I was in the activities building. I was a clerk down in the school. And I was coming up the walkway, and a few people hollered out their window, that they just made a ruling on Miller. They was like, we got it, you know what I'm saying? So I could hear the excitement in some of the guys' voice. So of course I went in, and finally it scrolled across the bottom of the screen, United States Supreme Court rule, and I believe it was 6-3, that Miller versus Alabama, juvenile life without parole, 17-year-olds, they actually put the age in there, 17-year-olds. And I was like, whoa, I gotta read it. I gotta read that opinion, so.
What the court declared unconstitutional was that you can't give a child a mandatory life without parole sentence. Well, then everybody had to be resentenced. And in Michigan, was 362 at the time, the second highest in the country, actually the second highest in the world. number of children serving life without possibility of parole.
I didn't allow prison to assimilate inside of me, but I had key things. I had a wonderful family. I had wonderful family support. I mean, to the point where they continue to engage me. They continue to come visit me. They continue to write me. They continue to allow me to grow. My family, my mother, my aunts, my girlfriend, my siblings, my cousins, they all wrapped their arms around me, and that gave me the strength to move forward. So they would write me all the time, or I would call. Phone bills was through the roof. They didn't care. Keep calling. We at my aunt's house now, and when I called, she answered that phone.
So this is why we're so close-knit family. And this is his dad. This is 2 days before he passed with one of Lynn's friends. So he was having a good time. Got a big smile on his face. Well, I think I tried to motivate him to do what he needed to do while he was there. I'm gonna cry. And it was hard, but we stuck with him. He needed stuff. We tried to do it. I would go see him as much as I could, wherever he was. So I had to do my brother's job. His father passed, and he gave me the hat to see about his son. We tried to do the best we could. Give him, you're coming home. You gonna come home. Faith, it means hold on. Don't give up, because it's gonna come. It's gonna come. And I'm just so blessed. And now he's marvelous. He's working, he's teaching. He's 2, 3 jobs, and he's making us proud. You feel like he haven't even went anywhere, because he's accomplishing, and his mind is where it needs to be. He's don't want to be a street person. He's making an honest living, and I'm proud of it.
I would get him a lot of pictures, but I was never in them. So now I take a lot of pictures because I'm in them. Now hey, come on, let's take pictures. Come on, let's take pictures, because he's in them now. So it helps when you have that love and that dedication from your family and loved ones that surround you and engulf you, and it helps you to continue to look at life and know that you're gonna have a life one day. You don't know how it's gonna happen, but you're gonna have it.
Tanya said, "I love you," and sent a video. Would you like to reply?
Still another day that you recognize and you appreciate. Just think of where I was at yesterday. Remember that location? Look at this location that got me working here today. Say some days is sweet, some days it's shitty. It's cold as hell down there, but making it work. Thinking you enjoy some of this beautiful morning. Take me a little stroll on the pier before I get dirty. Love you, baby. I might work overtime and get in at 2 in the morning. I get right back up at 5:30. I'm right back out the door. And the reality of it is that fight. It go back to, you remember the old Rocky movies? You lost it. You need to get it. I walked out that door with it. You know what I'm saying? That eye to tie. I walked out with it. I might not be from Philadelphia, but that dun 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 dun. That's like, go get it. Don't let nobody tell you no, because if you're doing it the right way, you can fail at the right way, but if it's the right way, you know what, it's gonna get back on track. I can't never not acknowledge the harm and the pain I've caused others. I can only move forth and try to repair the pain and harm I've caused in my life and my family's life. as well as society by giving back and contributing as much positivity as I can. So if you can learn from me and take something from me to help you be better and be greater and never experience my failures or my faults, then I'm obligated to tell you, because see, now I'm not silent now. So I was silent in there, but now I'm not silent. You know, so many months ago, I was in a cage. Well, now I'm in the fishbowl, so to speak.